Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone out there, believe me when I tell you this, everything's going well. So, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well today and you are ready for a fantastic show with none other than Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent, and he will, come on the show and show you some stories that you probably have not heard of from the week. It's always a lot of fun and stories that definitely fly past our radar as we go because, between all the different news stories, learning a different kind of math, and just everyone, you got to do something different. Well, this is the perfect show for different. So with that being said, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future show notes, articles, anything and everything you can find at our website. And that includes the show notes in particular. I want to point those out because those show notes are really comprehensive of everything that we discuss, links, sources. If you want to find more, you're like, I want to know more about that. Well, that's going to be the best place for that. So always want to thank Ralph for putting those together, and everyone out there, you get to enjoy those. So with that being said, let's go ahead, just jump right into today's program. And once again, I hope that you're doing well, and welcome onto the program once again, our science and tech trends correspondent, Mr. Ralph Bond. Ralph, how have you been?
I'm doing okay. Another insane news week for everybody. Oh my gosh. And what we're going to do here, folks, if you're brand new to the show, welcome, of course. Let's explain what Ben and I do every Friday. What we do is we look at 4 articles that show us key trends and developments in all things science and technology related, including, of course, almost every story includes artificial intelligence these days. But we look at robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, construction tech, space research, physics, all across the board. Anything you can think of, but most important of all, especially this week, we're going to give you hope for a better future thanks to amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
Yep, really going to inspire you that the future is going to be a great, lovely, beautiful place. Ralph, story number 1. Let's talk about a tank. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. This the reason I kind of gravitate toward these Army military stories is because of my service in the Army National Guard, 1971 through 77. Back in the day when young men didn't have a choice about the military. You either got drafted or you volunteered. That was it. Anyway, this first story comes from GadgetReview.com. The headline is XM30 Lynx, the U.S. Army's new 50-millimeter cannon-powered robot war machine. It's really not cannon-powered. It's AI-powered in part. We're going to find out about that. It's kind of cool. In the show notes, oh, by the way, come out to computeramerica.com. Get the show notes because they're going to have the highlighted text from the article that I extract. I also insert tutorial things that are in blue text. That's the code for things that I add to the articles. And you'll be able to see pictures and, again, get web links and all that good stuff. So let's go on with the story here. In fact, in the show notes, you can see on the left kind of an artist's rendition of the new vehicle for the Army and another picture of it in actual form. So here we go. The XM30 Lynx is the U.S. Army's new cutting-edge successor to the aging M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. That might be familiar sounding, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle for anybody with military experience. Now, in the show notes, I inserted a little Army fighting vehicle timeline to help put this into perspective. So the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle, introduced in 1981, replaced the M113 armored personnel carrier first deployed in 1961. So you can see the pictures of those two vehicles in the show notes. Now, AI, we talked about in the introduction, almost every story we do has some AI aspect, and this is no exception. So this new vehicle, the XM30 Lynx, is AI enhanced for efficiency. It's driven by a two-person crew, two-person crew, down from the Bradley's three-person crew. This is made possible by an unmanned turret and a virtual third crew member powered by artificial intelligence. Unmanned turret. This is really wild.
And probably talking about military stuff, the furthest thing from my area of expertise. But if I'm thinking about a tank, Ralph, and three people, I'm assuming one to kind of look around, one to aim the gun, one to probably reload and handle things, and one to drive the thing. Ralph, I was like, which of those crewmen would I want to be replaced by AI? And of course, my first instinct is the one holding the gun. And put the computer on that thing. Sarcasm heavy in there, but I guess that's just the way AI is kind of going. It's going to be kind of doing all the calculations that I guess the gunner would.
Absolutely right. And going on with the story as well, it fits right in with what you're saying. This AI assists with target acquisition, scanning for threats, and reducing the cognitive load on operators. Pretty interesting stuff when you think about it.
Yeah, the rules of conflict, I have no idea. I don't know what the current landscape is for, because AI has advanced so fast. I'm sure the law can barely keep up with it, let alone international law. I can't imagine how that's going to react to AI. It seems so far outpacing, traditional law. I don't know.
It is. It's mind melting. It really is. And survivability, by the way, for this new vehicle is a priority, featuring a hybrid electric engine for what the Army's calling silent watch missions and active protection systems to intercept incoming missiles. This is a very sophisticated system on the surface and rolling around doing its thing. So it's built on, I like this part too, Ben. It's built on a modular open system architecture. The XM30 can be rapidly updated with new software or hardware as threats evolve. That's so smart, really smart. And ultimately, the Lynx is more than just a vehicle. I also like this. It is a networked hub designed to control robotic wingmen and maintain technical overmatch against near-peer adversaries for decades to come. In the past, Ben, we've talked about little mini robot swarms, whether they're like the Boston little dog robots or whatever they may be, Boston Dynamics and that sort of stuff. This fits into that as a network hub designed to control robotic wingman. What a freaky world we're going into now. It's just amazing. And then at its core, one of the key features, as we mentioned before, the XM 913 50 millimeter Bushmaster chain gun. Boy, that sounds scary, right? And this is a massive upgrade that doubles the range of the Bradley's 25 millimeter cannon, allowing soldiers to engage targets from over 4 kilometers away, or if you're in the military, 4 clicks away. Isn't that amazing? And in the show notes, folks, we have a picture of this particular part of the vehicle, the gun turret, this Bushmaster chain gun. And the cannon uses advanced linkless ammunition, including programmable airburst rounds that can detonate above enemies hiding behind cover or neutralize swarms of aerial drones. And boy, aerial drones, we all know, is a big deal. And in the show notes, I insert, somebody might say, what's linkless ammunition? It means the rounds are not held together by metal links or belts. Each cartridge is handled individually inside a mechanical feed system rather than being part of a traditional linked belt. And again, as I mentioned in passing, I was in the Army National Guard, 1971 to 77. The M113, we just called them APCs. And in the show notes, there's a picture. I drove those things and I rode in those things. And boy, I'll tell you what, when you're in Fort Irwin out in the desert in the summer, it's 123 degrees outside. We had to wear heavy gloves and had to have long sleeve clothing, because if you touch the outside of that APC in the summer, you literally would get burned. And so a lot of fond, interesting memories about the good old M113 APC.
Yeah, I'm and honestly, you know, just looking at the pictures, and thank you for including those. Yeah, it definitely looks something akin to, you know, it's not that far from like World War II footage. Honestly, I'm sure the bones of it are, you know, still from that era. But and Ralph, they kind of say, you know, this is the vehicle that will be used for decades to come. I mean, to go from, you know, 1961 to 81 to like, if the M2 has to have been replaced at some level since then, but if this is really the next iteration beyond the, you know, the M2, that's like 40 years. The technology between the two, just night and day. You know, air conditioning, let alone.
It is just it would be if someone back when I was in the Guard had driven this new thing up, and we would have said, what kind of fantasy this is, Back to the Future, or what the heck?
Yeah, it's really incredible, and you know, yes, it's a, you know, an armored personnel carrier, so let's at least say yes, it does have a gun on it, but we can at least safe to say that, you know, people who are overseas serving, you know, in the military, you know, hey, you want to protect them, you want to make sure that they come home, so. You know, this seems like a wonderful upgrade to keep people safe and really change the reality of warfare, you know, which with Ukraine and now, you know, things happening in Iran, Ralph, we are quickly seeing that war, even 10 years ago, is not the war of today. It's so very strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
So there you go. Story number one, starting on a bit of a, you know, bit on a heavy note. Tanks are heavy.
Yes. Sorry.
no, you're good. Still very interesting, and people should definitely know about this because, hey, it exists. Story number one. Story number two, though, we're going to go to something that may affect you, hopefully, a little bit closer to home. And, you know, I just saw the other day an article saying that they're building these massive data centers, and like they're doing it, I guess, kind of before they talk to local utilities, local communities. And they're like, you know, Ralph, we promise not to use water for 1 year while we try to assess everything. And it's like, you know, you think they would have had all this stuff worked out, you know, before they start building these massive data centers. But no, they're kind of just buying the land, throwing them up and figuring it out from there. Well, story number two might help with one of the biggest parts, because water is a big part, but also electricity. You know, it's kind of why your electricity bill is, you know, going up so much. So, Ralph, story number two, let's talk about, you know, data centers.
Yeah. This is a really good story, and you're so right to present the scenario of data centers across this country. Extremely controversial, because typically speaking, they do a major hit on water supply for cooling purposes, and then just electricity hitting the grid, and giant controversies about the general population. For example, I live in Washington County, Oregon, west of Portland. It's data center land these days, a beautiful farmland being transformed into these big box buildings. Anyway, point being is huge problem. But this comes from Penn State. Salute to these guys. The story comes from their website. You can see the two developers in the show notes. It's really cool. And I'm going to set the stage with a little side note about the issue of energy and data centers. So on average, cooling typically accounts for 30 to 40% of a data center's total energy consumption. I would have thought it'd be more, to be honest with you. But since electricity is the largest operational expense, often 40 to 60% of the total budget, cooling remains one of the most significant line items in maintaining a facility. Now, if you come to the show notes, look for the blue text insert. You can learn more about a breakdown in specific of the energy costs for a typical data center. But let's get on to the story here. Researchers, at Penn State University have developed a physics-based AI software that could reduce data center cooling energy consumption by approximately 25%. Okay.
To put into perspective, folks, just how much electricity these things use, Microsoft purchased a nuclear power plant. They signed a contract for 20 years from 3 Mile Island. The thing that is, you know, pretty infamous in pop culture. Ralph, like, it just shows you how desperate, you know, these companies are for huge amounts of electricity that they're willing to go to such lengths. So this story has a lot of implication.
Yeah. And more data here. Currently, cooling systems account for nearly 40% of a data center's total electricity use, as they typically rely on static cooling targets that remain constant regardless of external conditions. And once again, the authors of these articles just figure, oh, Ralph, you know what static cooling targets means. No, I don't. So in the show notes, I inserted a little tutorial. A static target means the cooling system is programmed to maintain a specific unwavering environment. Your own home system, maybe you have this too, Ben, I'm sure. We have a little mini computer controlled home heating and cooling device on the wall, and you go and say, hey, always make it cool to 70 degrees or warm to X degrees, and it's going to maintain, again, now I know the geek term for it, static cooling or heating target, right? And
there's more. It's the difference between just an AC, kind of interface that you're talking about, and versus like I'm sure we'll get into exactly how it goes, but I'm guessing like a Nest type system where it kind of gets more dynamic.
Yeah, exactly right. And the goal of this static target business is something called the cold aisle. And I went, what's that? Well, a cold aisle in a data center, now you can amaze your friends and relatives with your data center knowledge. A cold aisle is where the data center is the aisle where the fronts of the servers face each other so they can draw in cooled supply air without mixing with hot exhaust air. So picture a data center with rows and rows of these racks, right? And it's that area in between the two server lines. That's what the cooling goal is for these static targets. Anyway, going on, the new software utilizes a digital twin, a virtual simulation of the facility to train an AI agent. Once again, Ben, we've been talking about digital twins. This is a big feature. Remember, about a week or so ago, we had the digital twin heart that was patient specific, that the doctors could role play with and figure out the best strategy for surgery before actually opening up the patient. Digital twins. This is a key trend, friends, to watch. So they have the new software uses a digital twin, again, a virtual simulation of the facility, to train an AI agent. This agent learns to navigate complex variables in the data center, such as shifting outdoor temperatures, humidity, and fluctuating electricity prices, even the price of electricity at a given time of day or night. This is like light years more sophisticated than what I have on the wall of my home downstairs.
Yeah, our Nest thermostats and other smart thermostats out there, they don't make a whole simulation of your house, and they're like, oh, Ben comes in every day at 5:15, and this is really high tech.
This is, it's physics-based too, which really is remarkable. So by using this physics-informed reinforcement learning, I love that, the AI understands the specific operational limits and safety requirements of the hardware in the data center. This allows it to dynamically adjust cooling levels in real time without risking equipment failure. Oh my. And to show you where they're at with this, these fellows at Penn State created this, but they're bringing it to the real world. The team is currently working to integrate this software into the Alerify data center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So while specifically designed, and this, you're going to love this part, Ben, while specifically designed for high intensity environments of data centers, the researchers believe the underlying technology could eventually be adapted to improve energy efficiency in other large-scale commercial buildings, such as airports and power plants, providing a more sustainable path for the growing digital infrastructure. That's so cool. Not just for data centers. Let's get this out wherever it would make sense.
No, it's as cliche as it is, it's such a great saying, reduce, reuse, recycle. And Ralph, that seems to just hold true in the technology age, where if it's not recycling something into something usable, if it's not reusing water for something else or something like that, reducing the amount of energy, and you're able to power everything, keep everyone happy, and have these wonderful big models that Ralph, I guess even in the first place, we could not have done a model like this without the thing that they are trying to solve. We need these large data centers. So, it's the problem creating a solution at the same time. So
yes, absolutely.
very, very cool. Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, just more electricity. That's what we need. But hey, we can use what we have better, and that seems good. So, story number 2, great. Story number 3, good researchers. Story number 3, chemists. And we're going to talk about this, speaking of reduce, reuse, recycle, well, I guess we should throw in replace as well. Story number 3, and we're going to talk about, well, a breadcrumb that you probably can't eat, but it might help in the future. So, Ralph.
Yeah, this is such a great story. This is really fun. Comes from livescience.com. The headline was irresistible. Here it comes. Chemists make hydrogen from breadcrumbs in groundbreaking reaction that could replace some fossil fuels. Hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. You and I have been talking about this for years. It is coming. It's going to get here. It's going to be more deployable, more practical, more real. The aviation industry is interested in it. Even the automobile industry is into it.
For sure. And here I am just turning breadcrumbs into ducks and pigeons. But no, they're turning it into much more useful things.
Yeah, there you go. So researchers at the University of Edinburgh have developed a groundbreaking one-pot method, we'll explain what that means, to produce hydrogen from food waste, specifically breadcrumbs of all things, that could significantly reduce the chemical industry's reliance on fossil fuels. All right, so they assumed that if you're reading this publication, you know what one-pot method is. I went, what? Side note, so in the blue text in the show notes, in context of chemistry and industrial manufacturing, one pot refers to a process where multiple chemical reactions occur in a single reactor or vessel. Instead of having to move the substances from one container to another for different stages of the process, all the necessary ingredients are added at the beginning or added sequentially into the same container. That's what one pot method means. There you go.
It's a little bit in my area of expertise because when I made drugs in South Carolina, we dealt with that kind of thing, Ralph. And the only thing I can think of is, when we had efficiency, like at the end, they kind of see how much you started with of your initial, chemical and how much it was in the drug by the end through all the reactions. We would aim for like 96 to 98% efficiency. So you would lose, 3-4%, transferring it, cleaning it, washing it, messing with it. So I guess if you have that one pot method, you have less of a chance of losing things and less of a chance of, kind of just, you're more efficient. So that's always good.
Absolutely. And control of the process is exponentially easier when you're not transferring materials from one vessel to another. So currently the process of hydrogenation, that is adding hydrogen to molecules, is vital for making everything from margarines and pharmaceuticals to plastics and fuels. However, 95% of industrial hydrogen is produced from natural gas through energy-intensive methods requiring extreme heat and pressure, releasing massive amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. So that's what's going on now, and this is what these researchers in England are trying to solve. So what's the solution? This is great. The solution? Microbial power. The team utilized a common strain of E. coli bacteria. In an oxygen-free environment, these bacteria naturally produce hydrogen gas as they digest the sugars extracted from waste breadcrumbs, and they mentioned food waste, maybe other sources too, right? And a little side note, I went, well, wait a minute, how can anything live without oxygen? Well, Mr. Dummy here learns that some bacteria need oxygen, some don't, and some can take it or leave it. Bacteria are incredibly diverse, and their relationship with oxygen is one of the biggest ways they differ. Well, that's a nugget for me of knowledge.
No, it's just whenever you hear, life in all forms, you immediately think like bacteria is the simplest. And that's why, on Mars and, other planets and stuff like that, we're always like, oh, wonder if we find bacteria. Ralph, I also tied oxygen to bacteria to life. So silly me.
Yeah, there you go. And the researchers combined this biological process with a chemical catalyst called palladium in a single sealed flask. There's your one pot method. As the bacteria release hydrogen, the metal catalyst attached to the bacteria cell membrane immediately captures the gas to power a hydrogenation reaction. So key benefits, well, it's carbon negative because the process uses food waste that would otherwise rot in landfills, releasing methane, which isn't so great, and avoids fossil fuel hydrogen. It removes more greenhouse gases than it produces. This new process, love that. Mild conditions to make this happen. Unlike industrial reactions to get hydrogen that we talked about that are natural gas and require a lot of temperature and pressure, unlike industrial reactions that require deep ocean levels of pressure, this occurs at near room temperature and normal pressure. Okay. And scalability, to wrap this story up, the team is now working on replacing expensive metal catalysts with biological ones to make the process even more sustainable for large-scale manufacturing. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, and obviously palladium is not the best replacement for natural gas. I'm sure getting that metal, is not going to be the easiest replacement. But Ralph, like you said, if they can get that switched out with something much more accessible, readily available, and cheaper, Ralph, it just kind of becomes a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do this instead of using natural gas?
And I'll tell you what, Ben, I can see it now. If this gets deployed worldwide, there'll be the ability to turn your toaster upside down, pound it, get all those breadcrumbs out of there, take them to a breadcrumb recycling center where they'll generate hydrogen.
There you go, a bread recycling center. The French are having a field day. There's hope yet for the French. Yes. So there you go. So story number 3, and really, once again, reduce, reuse, recycle. Being able to reuse food waste and make fuel out of it is just incredible. Or not fuel, I should say, but no, hydrogen is fuel. Hydrogen is fuel. That's right. So yes, making fuel out of it. So story number 3, great. Story number 4, and we're going to talk once again about graphene, folks. I pick on graphene a lot. It is doing incredible things. It is, enabling these things. It's just the feasibility and scalability are the things that need to change. But everything that graphene is doing, it is doing, and it is really incredible what it does. And I think this is going to be another one of those stories where, in the future, when we have this graphene ready to go, maybe bones will be able to benefit from graphene as well.
Yeah. And in fact, folks, if you're a longtime viewer or listener to the show, you know that usually the last story has medical technology. It's medical technology related, and this fits this very well. It comes from one of my all-time favorite go-to websites, phys.org, which is short for physics.org. Great outlet, very geeky, but really good. And the headline here is Graphene Scaffold Recruits Bone Cells and helps the body regenerate fractures. Actually, it should say repair fractures, because I don't think I want to regenerate more fractures. I want to repair them. And that's what's really going on here. So not to criticize the author of the article, but that is a little funny. So here we go. A team of researchers in Brazil, including the University of Sao Paulo, have developed a revolutionary bioactive scaffold using graphene that significantly accelerates bone healing. Unlike, of course, traditional metal implants that stay in the body forever or simple biodegradable materials that just dissolve, this new structure actively, this is the key, the new structure actively recruits the body's own cells to rebuild bone. Love it.
And I'm sure anyone out there who has broken a bone, a little bit of help would go a long way with this.
So true. And so let's talk about how does this work. The scaffold is a 3D structure made from a combination of chitosan, a moldable material derived from crustacean shells. We've heard about the miracles of crustacean shells before, and along with mushrooms. Those are two of my favorite wacky things for great sources of technology. But anyway, here, the scaffold is a 3D structure made from a combination of chitosan, a moldable material derived from crustacean shells, and graphene, a carbon layer just 1 atom thick. This combination creates a perfect environment for bone regeneration. And chitosan provides a flexible, biocompatible base that the body accepts easily. And the graphene acts as a catalyst, encouraging bone cells to stick to the site, promoting the growth of new blood vessels, vascularization, and signaling cells to transform into specialized bone tissue. Holy smokes, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I'll wait to say anything until the next key point, but yeah, it's seems amazing.
Yeah, and here we go. Key results and future impact. Okay, here we go. In laboratory tests on rats, thank you, rats and mice, for your sacrifice. In laboratory tests on rats, this graphene-based matrix achieved nearly 90% repair of bone damage within just 1 month. 90% repair in just 1 month, performing significantly better than other tested materials. And to wrap it up, the research team is now moving toward clinical trials. Oh, this is a good example. A lot of the stories we do every week, folks, are early research, twinkle in the eye, not out there in the field, but indicate where we're going. So this is a good example of this. So this team is now moving toward clinical trials. They eventually plan to combine these scaffolds with stem cells to treat complex fractures, congenital malformations, and significant bone loss in human patients. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that one I didn't really think about. Obviously I'm thinking of, just a bone snap in half, and then you need to fix it. But yeah, congenital malformations. So you could use this to, essentially fix a weakened bone. I'm thinking like,
Right.
spinal things and whatnot.
Yes.
But Ralph, and then bone loss, which,
Yes.
an aging population that's a problem more and more. There you go. So it has more implications than I thought, and seems really promising. So very cool.
Yeah. It's very, very inspiring story and a good chance to be uplifted at the end of this terrible news week.
For sure. It's a great one to end on, I would say. But if you're watching the video portion, you see here honorable mentions on the screen. If you're following along in the show notes, which are available by the time that you hear this, there's more to the show notes. We're only halfway done. But for time's sake, for conciseness, we try to keep the show to our 4 stories. But Ralph finds many, many stories that he'll throw some out, he'll keep some, and then some he'll throw into the honorable mentions. And these are stories that you should definitely know about. They're just as good as the first 4. Come on out to Computer America and you can find these at the bottom of the show notes and learn more about these. We'll give you the headlines, so hey, you know what to kind of look for. But these are stories you should still hear about. So Ralph, let's give them the headlines.
You got it. We're going to give you the headlines and the source real quick here. You come out to the show notes at computeramerica.com. You can get the links, everything you need to check this out further. So the first one comes from Tomorrow's World Today, fun website. Headline, eco-friendly laser method turns leather into flexible wearable tech. Okay. Amazing. Wearable technology is such a huge field, and this is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. So the next one comes from the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, their website, and it's all about how they've developed electrode technology, achieving 86% efficiency for converting CO2 into plastic precursors, meaning elements you need to create plastic. So they're doing this with converting CO2 into useful materials to make plastics. Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Really amazing.
And by the way, the South Koreans are just astonishing in their science. Just amazing bunch of folks.
Very proactive in their science and technology, and they're higher institution. Like Ralph, there's a reason why day to day on the show we talk about kind of all the chips and stuff, and that's why Intel is such a big part of America, is that they kind of make it here. Everyone else, Taiwan Semiconductor, South Korea, Southeast Asia has a lot of tech, huge tech hub.
Yeah, it sure does. And so our next one, this is really wacky, fascinating. Well, it's not wacky. It's really kind of amazing. At first, you're going to think this is sort of goofy, but it comes from futurism.com. Headline, scientists gene hack a plant so it grows 5 types of psychoactive drugs at once. And the mission here is not to get high and have a weird experience. No, it's for medical reasons. So it's all about the development of this. and how they created this splicing of genes from magic mushrooms, desert toads, and various plants and so on. It's so bizarre. You got to check this out.
Yeah, my immediate reaction is why? But the second reaction is, just this week in the news, we're going to look into more medical uses for these types of things. So,
yes,
hey, why not consolidate? That's good.
And I have to read one sentence from the article that I think is so great. The primary goal of this trippy tobacco is not recreational, but rather to create a sustainable green factory for medical research. So that's a really fun story. Now, our last one comes from good old Popular Mechanics. This is really bizarre and interesting stuff. Scientists just discovered there's actually something faster than the speed of light.
Huh.
Must read, must check this out. Very, very interesting.
Must read, must look at pictures, must not understand, must ask AI, and then must just accept that, hey, there are things that I don't understand, and that's okay. Ralph, you came up with an amazing slew of stories, and I want to thank you so much for doing that. They're all really amazing, and everyone out there, if you want to learn more, Ralph did the headlines. It's all, all of it right there for you, or I should say the key points. And if you want to dig deeper, find out more, because all of these have more. If you want to find out how to drive that new armored personnel carrier, you can go to the show notes and you can go to the articles and learn more. So Ralph, I want to thank you so much for doing this. Everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, Ralph joins us every Friday once again to cover these amazing stories. And everyone, have a great weekend. Do something fun. We will catch you next time. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.